to introduce you to our first speaker. It's Sean Callahan, President and CEO of Catholic Relief Services, and he will be sharing with us insights on local leadership. And Sean, I know this is a topic you're very passionate about, so over to you.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and great to be here with all of you here today, talking about ITC partnerships and really about putting people first. And in my experience here at Catholic Relief Services, I've been very excited about this topic because of my years in the field. I have found that the recognition of our local capacity and working together has really come to the fore, and we are now really seeing how important this is to all of us. But before I go there, I'd first just like to thank you all, as Sonia has done, for joining us here today. We have a very diverse audience from around the world, so I'm very happy about that. And over 1,600 different registrants so far. And so we're thankful for all of you joining. And I hope you'll be with us for all of the sessions here today to share your experiences from around the world. As Sonia also mentioned, this is a unique opportunity for us because we're doing this during a very challenging time with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we recognize that each and every one of you has suffered in one way or another because of this pandemic. But I think if we reflect a little bit, we also realize that this pandemic is something that we're going to be talking about, here today and in this partnership. It's about using technology and motivating people so that we can work together for the common good and the good of all people. And you see that in the pandemic. Some of the basic technology that we need to address the pandemic is masks, is distancing, and is tracking of where we are. And so we can use apps for that and other mechanisms. And then obviously the technology that's been involved in creating the vaccine. So I think we have a tremendous opportunity. And although the pandemic has been devastating for many of us, there have been some positive aspects, and we see them here today. One of those positive aspects is the fact that we can all be together from around the world in this virtual meeting here. And that allows each and every one of us to get together and touch base. And I want to thank everyone who has helped their organizations maintain the work that each and every one of us are doing during this very challenging time. I particularly want to thank our partners here today, and you can see them on the slide that's currently up. They have all been, very strong participants, and we have very much welcomed their participation in helping this conference move forward. I'd also like to just recognize our speakers as well. We have a diverse group of speakers from 5 different continents, and I think they'll give you the perspectives that each and every one of you will be very interested in hearing as we move forward. So once again, I thank you, and I'd like to just jump in now then on talking about really our partnerships, putting people first, and local leadership. And to begin with, I just want to mention to you, when I first joined Catholic Relief Services many, many years ago, I was working in Nicaragua, and I had to set up our office anew, and we were in wartime, and we were trying to really figure out, how we could assist the country during a very difficult time. And I hired a new agricultural person, and she was getting ready to go out to the field for her first time. And she had all the latest technology of agriculture that she had learned and knew how to implement programs. And as we discussed some different things, I asked her if she would take along with her one of our other colleagues, Don Pedro. And Don Pedro was the first person I had hired in Nicaragua, and he served many functions as the watcher of the office, the security guard, the gardener, and the person who helped us do different activities with the government. He'd go back and forth and do deliveries because there wasn't a mail system at the time. But Don Pedro was also a farmer who knew how to use the technology of nature that was there. He knew at the different seasons, at the different moons, how to plant crops. And I thought it was very important for our message to get to the local farmers for a very highly trained agricultural technical person, but she needed to be able to communicate. And it was so beautiful to see her and Don Pedro go out, and that blending of the local understanding and knowledge with that technology. So as we look at these local partnerships, what do we see? We see that the strengthening local partnerships allows us to co-create. And that is the key thing, I think, in any of our interventions, is as we look at local leadership, let's create programs together so it really is in line with the local needs, and that we're maximizing the local technology, the local input, and the local knowledge. And then how do we allow technology to come into that? So co-creation, I think, is a key one, and co-sharing and co-capacity building. We need to make sure that we benefit, each and every one of us, the mutuality of these relationships and the importance of them for greater innovation. And what does that help us do? Well, one of the key areas is scaling. If we do not have something that people feel that they can tie themselves into, then it's going to be more and more difficult for us to scale our various interventions. And so that is going to be something that I'll mention a little bit more in a moment. The other issue that's key is responsible data sharing. We want to make sure that we share information so that everyone is using the most up-to-date information for their decisions. And that includes the local community as well, so they know why we're collecting data and how it can help them. Another key issue that we all need to think about is bridging that digital divide. How do we make sure that people have access, that they can get out there and use these technologies at this time? So hopefully each and every one of you is staying safe. Hopefully we will keep improving as we move forward with responses to the COVID virus. But let me highlight a few of these other issues related to our partnerships. So within Catholic Relief Services, this local leadership is crucial for us, and we see it at 3 different levels. One is at the community level, and that's crucially important. The community needs to be part of our program. They need to know why we're doing it. They need to trust. The most important word in development is trust. They need to trust that we are there to assist them and to help them respond to their own needs. We're not doing it for them. We are doing it with them. And we need to help those communities access information and know why the information is being collected and how it can help them. We also, secondly, need to look at partnerships, and we need to make sure that we're using those local resources that are there in country, be that local non-governmental organizations, local civil society, governmental actors. We need to all be working together for the common good of all. And then, very importantly, is within our own organizations, we need to make sure that we are sharing information, that we are building and sharing our capacities back and forth, and that we're elevating up our local colleagues. In a team, it takes every member of that team to move us forward, and we can't do it alone. So the sharing of information and technology is crucial. At Catholic Relief Services, we developed a vision that we call our Vision 2030. And the name of that strategy is In Their Own Hands. And it's not in our hands, but in their own hands. And what that means is our strategy is really dependent on the people we work with and the people we serve. And why did we do that? Well, one, some people say, well, that's politically correct, and maybe that's the right thing to do. Well, quite frankly, I do think that it's the right thing to do. But maybe more importantly, I think it's the smart thing to do. We need to work together with people so that they understand how they can move themselves forward, so they can build resilience and have a sustainable intervention. I remember when I was working in India, and I went out to one of our projects in Lucknow, and we have some wonderful apps out there which help train traditional birth attendants, and they have messages that they give during the first trimester and the second trimester and the third trimester, and we were able to maximize technically illiterate women, but when I say illiterate, it's only illiterate, quite frankly, in reading and writing and our language, but they're very savvy, very dynamic women who wanted to help their communities. So these apps allowed them to go out and in the local language share crucial messages that were saving lives. When I went out to visit the project, one of the women came up to me and said, you know, this is terrific having you people here. You're so intelligent. You bring so many resources forward. We're so honored to have you. And I said, what is your role? And she said, I'm a traditional birth attendant. And I said, how many births have you given in this community? And she said, oh, I've done over 80. I've done, 20 in that village and 40 in that village. And she went back and forth and saying, and I said, that is fantastic. You know how many births I have assisted in? And she said, how many? And I said, 0. And I said, so who's the expert here? And she kind of smiled and all. And I think that's another thing that's important for us, is that we need to build that esteem of the people that we're working with. Now, we've come a long way since that time. And as you can see on this slide, the free, long-lasting insecticidal nets campaign. And this is an effort that when I visited in Nigeria is really fantastic. Catholic Relief Services, under the auspices of the Global Fund and the government of Nigeria, is working with communities there to ensure a bed net distribution. And when we first looked at this program, I'll tell you, some of my board members kind of shuddered and said, boy, these mosquito nets are going to be used for fishing nets, and you'll never get them on the beds, and it won't be protecting the people. And so this is too high a risk for CRS. And I said, no, trust our local communities, trust the people who are out there, and trust our technology. And what we've been able to do is, with the government of Nigeria, is reach out to base communities. We've been able to map the distribution of where it's going. We've developed supply chains. And then, crucially important, is we've engaged the local communities and local health providers to make sure that people use the nets for the reason they were specified. So now families are sleeping under nets. They're protecting their children, and they're protecting the mothers and fathers so that they can go to work and have a sustainable livelihood. And we have seen throughout West Africa, because this is happening in many countries, and not only are we very active in this in Nigeria, but also in Gambia, Guinea, and Niger. And these programs are all working together. And what we have done is, with the technology and with that the boots on the ground efforts, that combination has allowed us to bring this to scale. Millions of nets are now connecting millions of families. I would also just highlight that of the technology in that ground game, and the working leaders as catalysts for change. So as you can see here, we've got a few of our colleagues that are using some of the technology, and they're helping us make sure that the nets that are out there properly used, and that the communities also understand how to use. We've had several lessons in this process. One is the effective partnership leads to local leadership. So if we have a relationship with local organizations, we are able to share capacity at various levels. Similarly, we don't have a transaction. We have a holistic approach in which we recognize what the problem is, and we integrate technology into the response, so that we're all working as one together. And the technology is not an appendage of our response. And then thirdly, we continue to foster a culture of collaboration. We want to make sure that we are all working together for that common good and dignity. Now, before I end, I would like each and every one to just reflect on the few stories I've talked about, to reflect on bringing things to scale and really seeing what we can do so that we can help people like this young girl here sitting under her mosquito net with a big smile. And how do we do that? Well, each and every one of us who is on this call, if we can focus much more on increasing our collaboration, that we share information not only within our organizations and within the communities and our partners and with the local governments, but that we also share information amongst ourselves. We've seen that most recently with COVID and the COVAX effort, where countries are all coming together, sharing technology, and we have in record time come out with a vaccine. Well, we can in record time protect people from malaria. We can protect people against the Ebola virus. We can assist people in agricultural development. So let's make sure that we increase our collaboration, that we increase our capacity sharing, that we each recognize that the other has something to give, that our local partners can teach me many, many things. And that woman in Lucknow, she knows how to deliver a baby much better than I do. And I can learn a lot from her. And quite possibly, I might have something small to also share with her. We also have to make sure that we co-design. Let's not think that we have all the right ideas, but let's make sure that we work together to design programs that are integrated from the beginning. And when I say integrated, that's on the grounds programming, technology programming, and also the roles that we play at different levels. What role do the communities play, the local partners play, the governments play? Let's make sure they're all in that code design. And then let's all hopefully come together as organizations and as individuals so that we can build a stronger movement for local leadership that will assist people into the future and will be the benefit of all humanity. So thank you very much for listening to my brief words this morning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the events that you're going to participate in, and I look forward to hearing your comments and for exciting meetings to come. Thank you all very much.